If you have a question, just raise your hand, please, and myself or Michael will run the mic.
Now, it's all on video, just so you know. I've watched every one of these question and answer things, so I'm ready. Our elders, our staff, we've watched everything.
Tell them your name.
Do I have to tell them my name?
It's all being recorded. Yes, we got you.
I think a lot of people in here know me, but my name's Don Millett, and usually I'm not one to hold back on words. I guess, from a business perspective, and that's basically, where I come from. I'm retired military, but from that point on, I've been in business. I've had my own small business and things. From what I understand, I've been gone for months, so we kind of binge watched the videos the other night, and one of the things that, if I remember correctly, is that the property, the assets, and everything, should we vote as a congregation to do this, would be conveyed to Tomoka only under faith and not under deed or paper. Is that correct?
All right, say that last part again.
Okay. The property of Plymouth Avenue that Plymouth Avenue currently has, the building, everything would be conveyed to Tomoka without, you would have a quitclaim deed where it would be quitclaim to Tomoka without any contractual comeback should we grow to a point in, say, I don't know, 3 years, 5 years, I'd wish it would be next week, to where we would be able to bring back the property and reestablish it as Plymouth Avenue or reestablish it as something else. Is that?
No, that is not true. The property would become ours because, and here's why. We've already figured out that we're going to be, I don't mean to sound harsh, but we're going to have more invested in this property than you are. We're looking at probably $250,000 worth of work just to get things where we think they need to be to reopen the doors. We're looking at the commitment to audio visual, maybe of $150,000. Then we'll have to hire full-time staff, probably, and I'm not saying we're not going to keep the staff that's here. We're interviewing with them. But we're going to be $200,000 or $300,000 into this before we open the doors, say in January or February. So the property would belong to Tomoka Christian Church. Now that does not mean that down the line something couldn't change. I know Cord said in the first question and answer, we're not here to collect buildings because all this building is a pain in my side. The one in Palm Bay, when we took their campus, it was $1 million debt, and we had to borrow another $250,000, honestly, to make it usable. We spent $100,000 on air conditioners that were broken. So there's a lot of money that has to be spent. So it would become Tomoka Christian Church. I can't tell you what the future holds. I told Palm Bay, I said, if that day comes, yeah, we're not looking to collect property. That's not our objective. But I think at the very least, you're probably looking at 10 years from now, not 2 years from now.
Okay, I know you want to get the mic back.
It's okay.
But no, wait, we're just.
I know how this works.
I don't have a
the gentleman wants a follow-up.
I do. It's not a follow-up question. Actually, it's a statement that I want to share with the congregation, the people that are here, that have been. I've only been with this church since 2004, and I've been with this church. And my testimony is simply because I had a friend that planted a seed 46 years ago. But when I had a heart attack, that's when I decided to accept Christ. And I ended up here because of Chuck Hassel. With that said, I immediately got involved in the finances of this church. And even though at one time I was the director of their finances with regard, as a deacon, And then I left that position, I came back, and then I left it again. But we needed to know, I've been watching the finances all along, and we're seasonal on Lake tonight. But we tithe like we should. But what I've seen over the years with the membership dropping and the tithes dropping is that the only thing that sustained this church in the last few years has been a gift that was under, and I guess it would under an estate that we got every summer. And this summer we got it, and I don't think it continues from now on. That is gone. So what I'm saying is there was a Band-Aid. So if we want to keep this facility open, we have to do something like what we're talking about. I was not one that was impressed with seeing a screen, because I'm one that was like to be would like the interaction with people. Okay, so, and that's where the screen comes in. I understand that now, because I think where's John? John had gone down went down to Palm Bay, and he saw it down there, and that really conveyed it to me that, you see the screen, we still have our praise, we still have fellowship, and you can't move beyond these seats without having fellowship. I don't believe that myself. And the fellowship that we have as a group goes beyond these walls and builds the church.
I agree. How did that look on the screen down there? The experience.
Screen than what we have here, so
And that's one of the first things we will do is update, bigger screens.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, you weren't preaching that week. It was coordinated.
So it really was better.
didn't have to zoom in as much.
Listen, we have a great team, and that's one of the other benefits. I mean, it's me, it's Cord, it's Michael, it's David, it's Ben. So there's a lot of great team members that can teach and preach with the best of them. Any one of the guys on my team could be lead pastors anywhere. And so to have this team of guys working together allows us to do the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Anyone else? Alan?
Over the past couple weeks, part of the message was setting up programs to help and fix broken people inside the congregation, so we can be whole and go out and try to help. Here at this campus, what kind of programs would be set up?
Well, basically, everything we're doing in the Ormond campus, we would expect to be done here. Like I will tell you, like the food thing that I was talking about, that we packed 37,000 meals for Haiti. I've already talked to the group. There's a mission called Lifeline. And I said, so we're going to bring you in twice a year, December and June. I said, would you go to Palm Bay and DeLand at the same time? And they said, well, we wouldn't come down for, $1,000 project, but we'll tie the three projects together and we'll bring it all down on one huge truck and we'll send a team to DeLand, and so you'd be doing the same thing here in Palm Bay and at the Ormond campus. And you just be doing it on a smaller scale. When we're doing outreach activities to children, our children's department will work with your children's department. We would do exactly the same thing. Sometimes with some adaptation, like they'll say, listen, Palm Bay does not do this. Brevard County's different. We're like, okay, so what do we do down there? We'll adapt it a little bit. But the goal is that we're one church. The biggest problem with Palm Bay is constantly said, some people said, well, we feel like stepchildren, and we go out of our way to make sure they don't. I told them, I said, I'm more excited when we break 200 at Palm Bay than I am when we have 3,000 in Ormond, because I know we're going to have 3,000 in Ormond. It's like watching your kids grow up, you know. When your kids hit a home run, that's, you know, it takes a while to get over your own ego, but you realize, you know what, this is more fun than me hitting a home run. And I'll get a text this afternoon from what happened in Palm Bay, and they'll tell me that, you know, 2 people were baptized, and man, it just excites me beyond words, because I know that a year ago that church was dead, and now they've had 30 baptisms. They're involved with missions. There's more children from birth to 5th grade in Palm Bay a year and a half later than there were people a year and a half ago. We had 70 people when we went in there. Last week there were 70 children. So again, and that's just a target. We said we're going to go after, because when you get the children, you get mom and dad. You get young families. And so yeah, the goal is to bring what we're doing at Tomoka here. We won't ask you for $2 million the first year, you know, but you would have gotten the same challenge about those 5 kids in Mexico. And then whatever the land campus would want to do, we'll add that to the pile. Palm Bay's getting that challenge today. They saw the video last week, but there's people in Palm Bay telling those 5 children's story down there, and I hope we raise another couple thousand down there today to help those kids. So that's the goal, is to make it all work together. Follow up?
Hey, Joe. My name is Ben.
Hey, Ben.
I got a question. I'm just sitting here hearing about, you know, the financial stuff, and just wondering, is Tomoka have one pot where all the campuses would put into, one fund, or is it like each campus raises their own funds for what's happening?
Okay. If I truly understood our finances, Cord gives me a report. Our CPA that runs our finance ministry gives a report about this thick. Then Cord condenses that to 1 page for me, and I usually ask him about the bottom line, and that's the only one that I really want to know about. But to answer your question, we're one church. So do I know what Palm Bay gave? Yes. But it's not like, oh my gosh, Palm Bay only gave $3,700 this week, so we're not going to fund their children's department. Because our church has to make the same decision. If Tomoka votes to accept, if you all accept and we accept, then Tomoka's accepting the fact that we're going to have to fund this. Because right now, DeLand can't fund some of the stuff we're doing. So, now I'm not going to carry it forever, but I don't expect Palm Bay to be able, if they could have paid their $1 million debt, they wouldn't have come to us. And that was the hardest part about the decision for Palm Bay, is we had to take on $1 million debt. And the reason that the elders were okay with that, you can ask them, I guess they were okay, but the property was $2.1 million in value. So we said, you know, worst case scenario, we sell the property, which was never our objective. But, you know, what do we do if this thing goes belly up and we're on the hook for $1 million? But we were able to share with the church that if that were to happen, we'd sell the property and we're still $1 million ahead. But no, I get a printout. I'll know everything that happened in Palm Bay this weekend, how much they gave to the general fund, missions, building fund. And then, but when it comes to paying the bills, it's all in the general fund, and you know, David's staff gets paid. They're on Tomoka's staff. Is that?
Yeah.
And in some ways, it takes the pressure off. Like this last week, we had a bad week last week too. Into July is pretty bad, but it's not as bad when you're at our kind of numbers. We've got more money to play with, and so it's not like we have to say, well, stop doing everything in Palm Bay. We don't have to stop anything because we've got some backup money, and
Yeah, and I think that's the wise way to go.
Now, again, if we're going to be one church, then we have to be one church.
Yeah, exactly. And there will be times, I mean, there could be a disaster that happens to the building in Ormond, flooding or something could happen during a hurricane, the roof can come down, and it would be the DeLand campus if we come on and the Palm Bay campus.
We're all working together. Yeah, that's how we, right now, our statement says we are one church in 2 locations.
Right. I mean, I have seen in the past with other multi-site churches where they kind of put each other in competition.
Yeah. No, we're on the same team. No, it's going to take them a while. They were immediately helped when they came under the Tomoka umbrella because they were at 6.5% or 7% interest on that $1 million, and because of Tomoka's credit and collateral, the line dropped to like 4% because it was Tomoka's now, not Palm Bay's. And so that dropped their payment by several thousand a month right there. Well, it's our payment now. But it put them in a much better position where they didn't have to raise, more of the money that comes in could go to ministry instead of just paying the loan.
Yeah, makes sense.
Is that enough? I don't know anything about finances, so.
You did a good job.
Hi, my name is Susie.
Hi,
I've been
Susie.
coming here for quite a while now. Not a long time, but anyway. When I moved to DeLand, or moved this side of DeLand, looking for a church that was close enough to me because at the time we didn't have a car. And I was provided with transportation, which is a good thing, but even after that, I still continue to come here to this church because I love all the people here, and the people that I've met here are like family to me. My biggest concern, and I know there's a lot of people around here that know it because I've made it well known to a lot of people. My grandson is 2.5 years old, and I bring him to church with me every Sunday. It's just that something I've been doing since he was little. And my biggest thing is there going to be people here every Sunday to watch after him while I can come to church? Right now, some of the elders and deacons have been helping out over there, and I don't want to take them away from what they're doing. And that's something that's really important to me because I want to be here, and I can't be here and there, and I don't want to take them away from what they need to do.
Susie, I promise you will have a children's ministry like you could never imagine. We won't just be watching your grandchild. He'll be learning about Jesus. And I'm not saying he's not now, but you should come see our children's program. It is second to none. We have 5 full-time people just running our children's department, and it is amazing. And that, again, we can't do it on the same level that we do it there. You don't have the buildings, you don't have, but you also don't have 500 children. We have about 500 children from birth to 5 years old. It's a huge part of our budget, staff-wise, and the children's department and teen department never get told no. Because if we don't invest in them, there won't be a church. And so you won't have to worry about that. You'll be very pleased. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Mac, and I just want to reflect back on something you said a minute ago, which I'm interpreted differently over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and that is Palm Bay is worth 2.1, and we got $1 million invested, so that was a good investment. My question is, and I understand from our elders that if you were to go under as a church, that the property, of course, has to be given or sold to another church, not to a developer, say, for instance.
Correct.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to verify that.
No. First of all, any 501(c), the corporate leaders cannot profit a dime off of any 501(c). So if if Plymouth Avenue were to go out of business, quote unquote, and the building were to be sold, the money would have to be given to another 501(c). You could give it all to a missionary, you could give it to the church camp, you could give it to a Bible college, you could give it to another church, but the board of directors, trustees, elders, deacons, they can't divide up the property and sell it, nor can we. Anything that, in fact, if we divided it up now, the elders would owe about $4 million each. There would not be a net worth. But you are exactly correct. And that's a mistake a lot of churches make, and a lot of guys are in prison because they haven't figured that out. But if a church, that's what would, if you don't come with us and then, well, and again, maybe it turns around, but let's say it didn't turn around, then CFR, Darren Key, comes into churches that are like running 30. And he will sit down with them and say, listen, why don't you invest this? This used to be a great church. Why don't you sell this property and why don't you invest in another church plant that we're getting ready to do in Orlando or Miami? That way you have brought life back to the body of Christ rather than just ceasing to exist. And so that's really what would happen.
Well, let me just finish up by another question. You just said if we had to sell the property, it would go to, based under some regulation. So that means it could go to you. Am I right or wrong? Tomoka.
If you stayed independent and the church got to a point where it was no longer financially able to make it, yes. If the elders and the congregation voted, the property could be given, as long as you're giving it to another 501(c) tax-exempt organization.
Okay. Well, I don't want you to take it personal.
No.
I was just trying to...
I get nothing. Just in case you're wondering, I get nothing. But we have had small churches in the state go out of business, and they've donated, maybe their property's only worth $40,000 or $50,000, but they'll sell that and give it to North Florida Christian Service Camp. Well, that $40,000 at North Florida is a huge chunk of change. And so instead of just losing the church, they've actually advanced the kingdom in a bad situation.
I'm Dan, one of the elders at Tomoka. I just wanted to clarify something, though. I'm afraid that he may have slightly misunderstood what was said. If Tomoka Christian Church Incorporated goes under, that would be the case. This property would then be deeded over to somebody else. That does not mean that if this facility fails in the next 5 years, that Tomoka Christian Church leadership might decide to sell it to somebody. That is a possibility. So I don't want you to be misled that we would have to give this property to another 501(c)(3) if it fails here, but Tomoka Christian Church is still the property, still in. It would not be our goal to do that, obviously, but so.
Because again, we're going to have, if this goes through, we're probably going to have $250,000 invested in this property ourselves in the next 6 months. I don't want you to fail. Then the elders owe another $100,000 each. That's a low estimate. Okay, I got the finance guys over here. So.
Let me change the subject just a little. The missions that we support right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Will we still be supporting them, or are they going to be going to your missions?
Well, here's how that would work. We would sit down and take a look at all of that. I got a pretty good idea who you guys support, and I think everybody that you support, we already support. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. One of the questions we asked Palm Bay at the very end of the process, after they had actually voted to come with us, we sat down with them and said, okay, what is the one or two things that you really say, this is who we are, please don't take this away from us? And they said our preschool, and we don't even have a preschool in Ormond, but they said we have one of the highest rated preschools in Brevard County, and it is a huge outreach for our church. We said, okay. And the other thing was, we have one missionary that we support in the Ukraine that we think the world of. We think he's really doing a great job. We interviewed him. He actually got a raise. So I think he would be very happy. Now, I can't tell you that there might be some that we don't, but all of the Chuck Castle's family, Tranthams, yeah, we support all of them at a very large amount of money. The little girls grew up in my week of camp. I've known them forever. So all that work in the Ukraine, church camp. I don't know who else do you guys support?
We support Grace House.
We
The camp. We support the Johnson University.
Johnson, okay.
Overseas, we have partners in the Ukraine. We have two of the Ukraine.
Okay.
Partners in the Ukraine and the sports ministry.
Yes.
Ray and Pam.
Yep. And to let you know, we helped start Grace House. Tomoka was a bunch of money when Tammy was getting it started, and they didn't have the money. We threw a bunch of money into the pot and supported Grace House for several years because Volusia's was going pretty well. Not right now. We just our church just was it 3 or 4 months ago. We raised $70,000 for our own pregnancy crisis center that's going through a difficult time right now. But no, I love Grace House, always have. So.
Okay. I've been out of the loop for a while. I guess this question kind of coincides with that one. Our sister church in DeLon Springs, are they going to be independent on their own, or what's going to happen with that?
Is there a connection here that? Yeah, they're independent. In fact, I was looking at their website last night. Mark Gata. Mark is a very good friend of mine. Mark preached there for a long time, and Mark is now back as the family life pastor. He did a huge backpack outreach yesterday. Lots of stuff on their website. I don't know how the church is doing, but yeah, they're totally an independent congregation.
It's your get, Chet.
Excuse me, I like to stand when I talk. Is there a possibility, seeing as though there's people like me who haven't been here for the last month, that tend to like to go to north when it gets hot like it is? Is there a possibility that there can be a meeting of the congregation of Plymouth Avenue that gives the complete vision that Tomoka has in all of the programs and outreach that you've mentioned, and that this court mentioned, here and there. But as a group, I've missed some from the first meeting and some from the second meeting, and of course, in the third meeting.
Listen, we'll do whatever you want. I do know there are what are they called? What's it called? Vision, our yearly end of the year report. Didn't I see those somewhere?
Yes, they're out here on the back table, and they're also in the foyer.
Okay, if you pick up a copy of that, that's our report from the end of last year, and that gives you a pretty good picture. But we'll do whatever you want. I'm not sure you want to sit long enough to hear everything that we're doing, but...
Well, I do, but I know for a fact...
I'll take you to lunch, brother,
we
but...
have a member that has been corresponding with me over the phone, which is, everybody knows, is Wayne Sanborn, and so I will be talking to him. But that's one of the things that he would like to see. Now, he's not going to be back until, I don't know, August something. But here again, when you parlay things up into pieces, like we've done with this, everybody doesn't get a chance to see and listen to what the whole piece of the pie is. Believe me, I'm for it. And I just want everybody to be able to not only answer the questions in the setting that we have here, but to hear it and then get one more chance as a congregation to clarify things.
Well, that's your elders' decision, but we'll do whatever. I can just tell you we support over 300 missionaries. We've got about 75 different ministries operating on a daily basis. There are things that I don't even know about that are going on because people step up to do great things for God. The list is very long, but I mean, I'll take you through anything you want to go through. This is our motto. Cord really nailed it a few years ago. He said, it took me a while to figure it out. But he said, most churches, when they're given an opportunity, their response is no. Tomoka's response is yes, unless you can show me why to say no. When those 5 kids when they sent me the picture of these 5 abused kids, my first reaction was yes. And then, I mean, how can I not? And in the sermon last week, I said there are 1.5 million orphan children under the age of 16 just in Mexico City. That's just one city in Latin America. And I said, I know full well we can't help 1.3 million. But the danger is that you'll make that your excuse for not helping these 5. And I can help these 5 today because I've already got them off the street. And so that's the kind of stuff Tomoka tries to do. And when we get that phone call, we just assume, well, if we got it, we must be the ones that need to step up. And again, I'm praying for 6,000. Our people gave 10. And my guess is another 3,000 or 4,000 came in this morning. So that's really who we are. But you want to walk through it one by one, I will give you the printout of our missionaries, the printout of our ministries. What I tell new people to our church is there's no way you can absorb all of this. Take a look at the big picture and then find a place for you to get involved, because it'll knock you over like a fire hose. But if your passion is Cuba, great, then you throw yourself into Cuba. If your passion is children's ministry, then you throw yourself into that. Nobody could do what we're doing. Like I said, it's gotten to the point where I don't know. I'll be like, hey, what is this? I just read about this on our newsletter. I mean, I'm finding out what's happening. But I don't have to, because that was created by some other pastor, and he's got a team already put together. And like the backpack outreach this week, I'll have nothing to do with that except cheering. 37,000 meals for Haiti. I didn't do anything, but God's people did. So whatever your elders want to do, we're in. But I think you'll find that if you say, well, do you do this? The answer is yes.
Let me encourage you to do what Vicki and I and Jordan did last weekend. If you've not had a chance to visit the Tomoka campus in Ormond, Palm Bay's a little far, but the Tomoka campus, we got there in 30 minutes. It was no big deal. 6:30 on Saturday evenings, they have church. Now, I know this will expel your whole living of only going to church once a week. But you can probably do it. A field trip. Everybody likes a field trip. So you get in the car and you go, I'm telling you what, it changed our perspective completely about what we're getting into. What are we getting into? And then the only thing that we felt when we left was, I want to come back tomorrow. But the thing about it is, the same things they're doing there can be done here. A little bit smaller scale until we get larger. But you need to go and see what it's about. I'm one of these, I got to touch it, I got to look at it, I got to feel it. I don't want to read it in a financial report. That's not the way my brain works. But I want to see it, and that helps. Muriel's done that. She's gone to the main campus. She's gone to the Palm Bay campus as well. Some of our other people, I know John and Kim have. It really helps.
And listen, we started, don't think that we woke up to this. We started with 120. That was where Tomoka started. But we did the same things then that we do now, just on a much smaller scale. I can remember one of the first things we had, our goal was to collect 50 canned hams for Halifax Urban Ministry. And I think we got 53. Isn't that interesting that I remember that? It's kind of like Jesus and the catch of fish. We were catching pigs. But 53 hams, and I mean, we celebrated that in our church just as much as we celebrate the 500 families that are being fed now, because 53 families were going to have a Christmas dinner. And so it's not about numbers and zeros and all of that. It's about doing what you can with what you got, and then God just keeps multiplying it.
Amen. My name's Melissa. The few people that use the church, like Meals on Wheels and the AA programs, will they still be able to use the church?
We will multiply them on steroids. I already talked to the Meals on Wheels people when I was here the other day, and she asked me that question. I said, honey, not only will you stay, but we're going to figure out how to double the size of it.
You've heard Cord say that Joe's the yes man, so any question you ask him, it's going to be yes, and then some.
Yeah, Cord's the one that says no.
Cord standing behind me going, Joe, how do we pay for this? Man, you guys are harder on Cord. Maybe he already took the tough stuff, huh?
He did.
He did.
And again, Dan and his wife Cindy there, Tony, Mike, they'll be, if you want to ask our elders questions. Who else has been here? The other guys? Okay. So three of our 5 elders are here. So if you have questions of them, about my mental stability or...
I don't think we want to go there.
Be gentle, gentlemen.
With what Michael was saying about going to, you guys went to Tomoka?
Yeah.
Sorry. John. If you really have negative thoughts about how this would work, it's only an hour and 20 trip down to Palm Bay to see. Tomoka, of course, is the much bigger scale where Joe would be every week. What we would be getting is what Palm Bay has in our next step. It's not that far to drive down. Take a look at it. I think you'll be as surprised and amazed at how well things work and what we can do here to get us to that next step of how Tomoka is.
I'll drive as fast as you do.
No, but you got a lot of restaurants between here and there. Make a day trip out.
Come on, guys. Field trips mean trying out new restaurants,
Hey, Dixie Crossroads. You can just hang out right there.
Anything else?
Mr. Rogers, you doing okay? Is RC still here?
Right there.
Right there behind him. Okay. Any questions you have? I've known these guys for a long time, so.
Fantastic.
RC knows my mother-in-law.
What you said this morning is spot on, and that hits the nail right in the head, and it's not happening in most places, and it should be, and I'm 100% for it.
My only disappointment, you said January, February, I'm ready to get started quicker than that.
Well, that's up to God and you guys, and then we got to go to work on some things if that's... But yeah, I don't know that's the one thing that's not knowable is the exact timelines, how that would, I mean, the first timeline's on your side, so what you guys decide.
We wanted to do it in 2 weeks from today. We're still having a discussion with Cord on when we're actually going to do that. It'll be 2 or 3 weeks from today. Don?
One thing on that. We're all into that. I don't need that microphone. My wife does that. With regard to that, we know the people that come to this church or members of this church that are out of the state. We, just like I have a HOA in Murphy, North Carolina, I do things via email, So when we get around to deciding when that meeting is, and we need to put that in a piece of paper for those people that may not be here and send it out email, to the members of our congregation that email that will be able to provide their feedback back on that.
We have had that discussion with several people. I have discussed it with the Sanborns. We have no issue with that. It's up to the elders' discretion on that issue. However, we want to make sure that they're looking at the videos, that they're asking questions, that they understand what they're voting for before we send them a ballot. Kind of off subject, but since I have you all here, we need to address one thing: the air conditioners. We have 2 air conditioners that went out, and we have quotes to replace them, but it goes over our maintenance budget, well over our maintenance budget. We have been given permission by the congregation to do maintenance, but by all legality in our bylaws, if it's over $3,000, we have to have a congregational vote. At this point, it doesn't say we have to do a paper ballot or anything, so I'm just going to ask for a show of hands to repair the air conditioning.
If they vote down air conditioning.
Yeah. So all in favor of replacing the air conditioners? Thank you. Okay. I'll just make it official.
We have it on video, it's good.
Bathrooms get fixed.
Yes, bathrooms and AC are very important.
All right, I just want to thank you all. We will, we were kind of discussing last week, I think in our community group, we were discussing that, you know, to me, this is like the pep rally. You know, we're going through the pep rally and everybody's excited, but we're not going to play the game for another couple of weeks. I want you guys to stay excited. I want you guys to see the potential of bringing those kids from the high school to reaching out to this community in all aspects in a way we just haven't been able to do for several years. Keep that in your heart. And just be anticipating the big game here, okay?
One last thing. Cord said the other day when in one of his meetings, Cord mentioned, which we've had issues with before, with people spinning their cars around in the parking lots and doing drugs in the back of the church and things like that. And he made a comment in one of the series is that, you know, our thing is that we would call the police, we would kick them off. He said, we will be cooking them hamburgers and hot dogs and preaching the love of Christ to them. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's times when you have to deal with things. We had a family about a year ago. We have a big, if you've been to a campus, a big drive-through where you drop people off. And we had a family in the woods running a meth lab and using our drive-through as like a McDonald's drive-through to sell meth. We did call the police and put an end to that. But when it comes to just kids being kids, again, the goal is to change the atmosphere of the church so that those kids will think differently about the church. They'll be, you know what, we're not going to do anything at that church because my mom and dad get food from that church. There's an atmosphere of respect that, you know, it's going to take us a while. But yes, if I had kids here, we'd be out talking to them. That would be and either they get tired of hearing about Jesus and they'll go do drugs somewhere else, or they might start coming to church.
We're going to outgrow Tomoka quickly, because if they start making them lunch, we're going to have 3,000 kids over here at church every day.
If your hot dog budget outgrows your staff budget.
Chet, remember when picking a date, school is coming back, more families will be back, but we do have Labor Day weekend coming up quick. It's the first weekend in September. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people will be out of town.
Any other questions? All right.
Did I pass?
I think they like you. Okay, if we could close with prayer, and just again, as the, I guess, captain of the cheerleaders here, just keep that spirit up, and we will communicate when this vote is going to be as soon as I get with.
Listen, the future of this church is bright. And let me just say this, because this has been in my prayers, that if you have the vote and it's all against us, still going to love you guys, and we'll help, and we have helped. I worked with Adam, I worked with Chuck. We're in the kingdom together, one way or the other. You can't get rid of us. We're brothers. So I don't want you, you're not going to hurt my feelings. If it goes the other direction, then God bless you. We'll help you do everything we can to get the church going in another way. So don't think, we're going to be mad, because I don't work that way.
Just one more thing that came on my mind. It was, I just want to say thank you to you and your staff for just dropping everything you were doing with your plans, because you heard about the opportunity here, and spending the last month with us. I think that's impressive. I haven't seen a lot of large churches take that kind of humble stance and give an opportunity to a smaller church to really grill you guys for a month. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good. And so I just wanted to make sure I had that
pleasure.
said. Yeah, it was on my heart.
Thank you, Ben.
Can I pray us out?
I was going to say, while you have the mic.
All right, let's go. I'm hungry. Father God, I just come to you now, and I just thank you for this really opportunity between brothers and sisters in Christ to really just work together arm in arm. And Father, whether we decide to merge congregations together, whether we decide to remain separate, Father, I just ask that you help us through your Spirit and guide us to what you think we should do. And Father, no matter what the outcome is, I'm just glad to know that we have some brothers and sisters over in Ormond and down in Palm Bay that I think this process has brought us a little bit closer together. And Father, right before your son left and ascended to heaven, he prayed for unity for his church. And Father, I just proud that I'm seeing some of that happen today. So Father, watch over and bless us, help us to stay unified, and help us to do your work. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Yeah.